Well, the river changed every high water or flood, and there wasn't always a flood, there was often just high water, and it changed the look of the river. So sometimes there would be pools and sandbars where there was just a fast running stream before. So it was always great fun to go to the river and after high water and see what kind of playground was left for us. So the pools, of course, were the wading and swimming pools, and when they froze over in the winter, they were the skating rink. And some people would skate quite far up and down the river on the edges. Well, the first flood I remember was 1948, and it was starting to lap on the road, and my parents got concerned and sent me out on a horse. So and we were on an island because the river comes back there. Historically, it used to come back there and come across White Avenue, this side of Bavarian Inn. And so I remember going out on the horse, and the rider's feet were in the water. The water was up about the horse's belly. So that was 1948. The next significant one that I remember was 1963, and that's when I was mentioning to you my dad put car bodies in and trees to stop the erosion of the bank. And in one point he was trying to retrieve a car body, and it's a very spectacular picture. He in the truck and people on the back pulling out the winch trying to retrieve it out of the water that was going over the truck box. Now, people talk about the 2005 flood, but that was a rain event. It was not a runoff event. There was just so much rain that if you lived on a hill, then you could be flooded because if you didn't have drainage. So sure enough, the river was high, but it wasn't a big flood event. It was a rain event. And then, of course, we come to 2013. And this is the start of how it looked in 2013. At 5:30, I got up to open the shell station, and I had never seen vertical waves in the river. And I had never seen the river look black. So I knew it was going to be a bad one. And this is what it did to the road above us. This is what it did to the store. This is what it did to our house. Some of those things that were piled on top of the counter had come out of a different room altogether. Here's how far over the river came in 2013. And this, what a sigh of relief that was, because the front of the store was hanging out unsupported. And Wade's moving came and put beams under. It lasted like that for about 6 days, and then they came with the beams, and that was a really good feeling. There was a car bridge at this location until 1932, and then it washed out. So the bridges were very missed by people, and so my dad took on the project of building a footbridge. And almost every year, the bridge washed out when the floods came. And it wasn't the flood so much as the debris that would take out the bridge. So he had various versions of bridges. His most significant one was 1967, in which he did one as a centennial project. And it was pretty fancy because it actually had a handrail and it went from bank to bank. So you didn't have to go down to get onto the bridge. You could just walk straight out. From bank to bank, from the trading post to the round hall. He got tired of the bridge being washed out every year, so he would get old running gear from wagons and put logs between them and roll them into the bridge into the water after the flood season. And then before freeze up, he would roll it out and keep it on the side. And the next year, same thing, roll it in and roll it out, and he didn't have to keep building bridges. And the last wheeled bridge, he wheeled out in the fall of 1973, and it was sitting there on the bank, and he passed away in June of 1974, so he didn't have time to put it in, and there's never been a footbridge since.
I heard your dad took up a hobby when he was 70.
Oh, yes. Coming home from running the mail one hot day, he saw these young people tubing down the river, and he thought that would be great. And so he took up tubing down the river, and believe it or not, he would go all the way to Clem Gardner Bridge from here. And must say, he was a little scratched up though, from some of these excursions.